though they do have a returning player. So I think that this is going to be looking like a really nice time for them. But I mean, Lord, look at the compositions.
Oh yeah, it's like I said, this is going to be we're going to see some pretty conventional looks emerge from both these teams. Now, more conventional is going to be Siena College, who, by the way, says they're bringing their A game. Better watch our backs because we're bringing it 100% send, and easy to do that when you really quickly. Looks like that one didn't quite meet the mark. Unlucky.
Yeah, I gotta say, really unfortunate. They are going to be reaching the point a little late. Canisius are already there, and they're going to be taking their time just trying to get a sense of how they want to brawl. The big problem goes into that Junkrat already. We see Nathan having to play a little bit back split off their Ana. It's picked off now. They are slowly being melted down. Not going to be able to have some survivability, though. At least Flick gets the flash kill, finding out the Soldier 76.
The first is, first to touch isn't always the best strategy, although it ends up working out most of the time. Ultimately, it's Siena College's retake game. That looked really impressive to me, and you're still working on a couple of those ultimates. That fight resolved really quickly for them, but at the very least, they're going to generate this early control percentage.
More than anything, they're building a lot of ult charge. Soldier, look at that. Captain Killog is able to find out the Cassidy. Now they start to push in, though it seems to not really work in Siena's own favor. Ace being punished, gets charged, and is not going to be able to survive. It's more beneficial that the Riptire is built, but the Shatter goes through, tries to punish that Soldier, but no follow-up. It's just not working well. They have to nano that Zarya to find any room to move forward. Unfortunately, though, it's just not in their best favor. The anti is very beautiful and lands clean. However, the Reinhardt has returned, and we all know what happens when the Germans come back into this fight. They are ready to wreak the havoc, especially with the peel. Though the benefit comes in from the fact that Special was on the flank, able to find out Ace, and well, Siena caught with their pants down. They have to back up, or the stagger will continue, yet they choose to use the visor on those without a shield, and it's working to great effects as they find two with it. That's what I'm talking about. A big comeback, but that was still dangerous in every sense.
A little bit, but I can respect Siena College taking the risks here to ensure that they capture, that they maintain control of this objective. 75% in building. You're coming up in the last team fight territory. Canisius is really going to be looking to make something happen here with Graviton Surge, as well as both DPS ultimates coming up online. Whether or not it's thwarted, however, by Ace and Sethri with their own ultimates and that Diva defense matrix, that's still up for debate.
I mean, CJ Paul was already dangerously in that scenario, though it does look like the bomb. Able to find out Ghost as the Graviton Surge catches the rest of them on the point. The big problem comes is that there was no follow-up. Upstate was alone. The High Noon wanting to try to bring this back does not work, so the Blossom from Special is able to at least tie it up. They have to keep touching the point if they want any way to bring it back. However, they just don't have the people on the point to contest. It's going to be a big sacrifice. The Monkey just jumping in, hoping to make a difference, enabling that res. No, it gets booped out and canceled. Now stuck in that Soldier's line of sight, eventually falling down. CJ is also returning with a Riptire. It's just looking really unfortunate for the side of Canisius, as they have no sustainability on this point, and they are not going to be able to take this.
No, and you had some really long fights there as well, breaking out for Canisius. It's one of those instances where you're kind of sitting there like, how do we lose that? But Siena College really benefits from that particular style of play, that style of composition, the rush, and what better map to run that than on Nepal Shrine there. Heading into our next map, we're going to be taking ourselves to Nepal Sanctum, and that's going to work a little bit better for Canisius College, opting for this kind of more poke-based composition. It's actually going to end up as a double shield brawl style. But interesting to me is going to be the differences in supports. And both of these lineups, you have Ghost X and Melee Monster on the Mercy Lucio, which you wouldn't want to run in a solo queue ranked game with a Reinhardt. Meanwhile, Siena College is running the double main supports, who, tend to actually yoink a lot of ult charge from each other. Very interesting to see how this unfolds.
I definitely agree, though they have decided to walk the pathway of death, as we see the poke is just starting to melt them down, and yet Nathaniel is the one who says, no, I'm gonna find the value and take two. With this aggression, they're able to really move forward, and I've got to say, beating poke in its own game, that's not something you see often.
No, and really, it's just Nathaniel pelting the formation of Siena there with the hyperspheres. You can see it's generated quite a considerable amount of ultimate charge for Canisius as well, which means that coming into this next fight, we're going to see the Flux committed.
I gotta say though, look at this. The Flux is popped very early, though it catches a few. It makes that immortality. It invested. Now the rest of Siena, they're a little bit too scared to walk forward. They have to play in this choke and very uncomfortably life building up to this window. Can't even use it as they have to focus on healing their team. Comes down dangerously low, but able to have that sustainability. That's what matters in the end. It's this front forward fight that's the problem, as Ace does not manage to survive. The Dragon split them up, and Canisius move forward with anger in their hearts.
Yeah, and a desire to control this space as well, which they're going to be able to do relatively easily with, again, this Rhine Sigma brawl-based composition. You've got the best of the poke. The fact that Sigma can do pretty much everything in the game right now is a serious advantage to play into, especially when you're playing in a territory that it's easy for Reinhardt to control as well. Siena, even with 5 ultimates, is still going to struggle here.
Yeah, look at that. The pulse bomb sticks. However, it's not able to kill. And yet, that's what the Grid Flux is meant for. Although you weren't looking out for the Reinhardt who was in your back. Slams a shatter, does so much damage. That, I mean, the soldiers going on to the point. It's a little bit too late as the Mercy is falcing to kill you.
Locking him down. I think ultimately, that fight won't be won by Ghost, but they get a little bit of credit there. The elimination of Captain Killog. You're coming up again into last team fight territory, though, and Siena is going to want to break through this, finally opting for a Reinhardt-based Rein Zarya comp so that they can walk on this double shield lineup, or maybe just forego the shields entirely. Look at this pathing from Sethri, eager to touch the point.
Oh, but look, they managed to use that Fire Strike. They find off the Junkrat. Unfortunately, with the Nano going on to kill the OG, they're able to out-damage your counter, and now you just have to touch the point. But however, there is a Reinhardt and a Lucio.
Oh no,
you get booped off, and I mean, you almost had a chance. You found the picks, but unfortunately, the rest of your team weren't there. I mean, Siena, it's similar to how it was before, 100 to 0, 100 to 0. These teams are fairly even as we speak.
Really liking what I'm seeing from both of these teams. It seems like each one has kind of benefited from the style of gameplay that the maps support, and that's really the state of the game that we're in currently. It's not so much that everything is equally playable; everything's equally frustrating to play against. And really, it's about not playing, the double shield in every map. It's about playing the heroes that benefit from the way that the maps are designed. Really good adaptations from both sides. Really good strategies from both sides. Canisius in particular with the Mercy Lucio is interesting to me. You've got that offensive potential that Mercy brings with the damage amp, as well as the mobility between Mercy, Lucio, and the defensive ult. The sound barrier coming in there in response to Captain Killog's nano visor. That was very meaningful.
I definitely agree. However, the entirety of their compositions, they switch styles as the more traditional brawl composition takes place. The fight on the point hasn't even open to be captured, but they are still looking for, look at that, able to take out that soldier, and eventually the Reinhardt falls closely after. They were just split off, not as a unit, and the rest of Siena, they want to try and back out, but Special is there, damage boosted, and is looking to not only get more ult charge, but at least gold damage.
Yeah, definitely fighting for those gold medals. It's an ambition of everyone who plays the game. Look at how quickly, though, Siena is able to reconnect to this fight with life on the Lucio. Finding out that first pick on the melee monster is a pretty important one. But look, Ghost on the Mercy with the revive. Mercy Lucio is viable here. Canisius is showing us.
I mean, but the big problem is they don't have an immortality, and everybody's open to the shatter as they get hit, and it's just a cleanup. I mean, I guess that's just one of the risks that you have to live with, especially Siena's own Reinhardt being caught out and having no supports to help.
You have to take risks, though, especially when you're playing these control-style maps. It's so deathmatchy in your approach, or rather, you have to approach the map as a kind of deathmatchy arena here. Siena, in the interest of winning that deathmatch, is going to be coming up on some pretty crucial DPS ultimates. Another visor from Captain Killog, Nourishment possibly able to build that nano to apply to that, but really, it's going to be CJ Paul with the Blizzard being able to play for the retake here for Siena if they yield the objective. That'll be pretty important.
though they take this rotation, they have to use that Flux and Lightning combination to find those openings. The charge still lands on Nathaniel, but it doesn't really matter. The ult economy, I guess it just worked more in their favor. Still needing to use that Valk, unfortunately. That's a big ultimate to pop out, even when Siena, they only had a Zarya left.
And that's, you know, to be honest, that's not really an instance that I look at that. I look at the way that Siena kind of backs off there, rather loses that fight with that Flux Noon combo. You know, I don't really look at that fight as you know, where you do use the Blizzard to retake it. This is going to be your opportunity to commit that ultimate, as well as possibly the Shatter from Seth.
Yeah, but look at this. Upstate pops his Shatter and kills Zarya immediately. Unfortunately, though, with that counter charge stun, Upstate's not going to be able to live. The Shatter's free, though the Sound Barrier keeps Special up for a little bit longer. You've been isolated out, and you're not really going to be able to live, especially when the Blizzard gets Ian. Yeah, you didn't notice it, and that's going to be a big problem, at least when it comes down to Siena later on. But for right now, they have the advantage. They invest the Nano, and they clean up the rest of Canisius.
For me, that's a pretty reasonable trade, though. You know, you invest the Nano because you lost the Blizzard. You'll be coming up on the Graviton Surge from Aced, and you know, maybe we'll see Nathaniel eat that as well. Get a healthy amount of Kinetic Grasp shield HP there, so that they can use this Flux.
They are taking their time, though. That wall kind of messes things up. It seems that CJ just was not ready to rotate, gets caught out by the Storm Arrows, and Upstate, it's dangerously low. Though this Gravitic Flux, it catches a massive amount, but they're not really able to follow up too much because of that Sound Barrier, and they lose their own Lucia. Now the Visor going inside their backline. They try to go for the res, but it's going to be punished very quickly. Now Canisius have to make up the difference. The High Noon, it get canceled out solely because of the bubble, and the Graviton Surge getting Ian! How hungry are you, Nathaniel? As you take out the Graviton Surge. Unfortunately, though, your team just is not there to truly benefit off of it. Either way, Siena, they're going to be able to bring this back just barely, though.
I mean, big plays from both sides, and Siena is able to bring it back just barely and in time as well for this last team fight, which you're really only coming up on the Shatter. You won't be able to generate the Valkyrie quick enough to use it to swing the fight, and you have another Shatter from Sethri. It's which Rhine can diff the other Rhine here.
I mean, I don't even think it's a Rhine diff. I just think that you left your backline open to that Shatter. Yeah. You lose your Mercy, though the Soldier gets traded. It's a very good trade until the counter Shatter comes up from Upstate. No follow-up as it's fairly even until the Nano lands onto Siena's Reinhardt. Now there is so much security built, and without the Wrecking Ball touching the point to force that overtime, Siena, they're going to win on the ball, and they are taking the lead in this series.
Really, again, really good stuff that we got to see from both of these teams. Big moments from Nathaniel. I mean, 2 ultimate eats and in one map. That's pretty good. And it's really, I mean, it's not the easiest thing to do. If you really understand the way that players move, then it's made a little more simple. But nice catches from Nathaniel on the tank lineup. Unfortunately, not enough to bring Canisius